Philippines are Ida Kyung-son to talk a bit about the fintech sphere.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see many friends here, and one of the key areas that we're extremely passionate about for our country is the financial technology, or what they call the fintech space, of which Advance is a prime example. We're very happy to welcome them as one of the newest members of Fintech Philippines, which is now officially the largest and fastest growing tech organization focused on fintech in the Philippines. You're probably wondering what fintech is, and it's not just about, but let me, and most of you probably know what it is because you've heard us talk about it many times. But the thing is, we're not just here to tech up the payment space, right? Not just about banking, not just about insurance, not just about credit. Any vertical in the country, education, logistics, construction, real estate. I find the music too romantic for me. Maybe you can have it dial it down a bit, right? Thank you. Kaya nga, sir, there's no romantic bone in my body. My friends know it. So, basically, any industry that has an underlying payments component, and that's basically everything, right, can be considered fintech. So, when the year opened, Fintech Philippines, led by our chairman, Dr. Tito Ortiz, who's also the chairman of Union Bank. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today because he's actually in Singapore meeting with the Singapore Fintech Association in our behalf. So anyway, going back, the Philippines is a very dynamic community for technology, not just fintech, in the world. I've termed it the reverse Philippine diaspora, where there used to be a time when Filipinos are actually being exported globally for talent. Now we're actually bringing in some of the best and the brightest in the technology space to domicile themselves in the Philippines. And we're attracting some of the best talents from all over the world, even our Filipino talents, to head back to the Philippines and found many of these companies. Now, at this point, maybe I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Ida Kyung-son, who's one of the board members and trustees of Fintech Philippines, to talk about the thrust and the importance of governance, right, in the space. Ida?
Hi. Okay, my day job, I'm actually an investment banker. I've been a corporate banker for like 30 plus years, National Australia Bank, Philippine National Bank, and now heading one of the biggest investment SPV in the country. On the side, while actually doing that, I am sitting on the board of a fintech company called Fintech Global Resources. It's a Singaporean based, and from then on, I got invited to Fintech Philippines as one of the trustees, and also head of governance, being an ICD trustee, Institute of Corporate Directors, and an MAP governance chair,
Because in
vice chair
fintech,
as well.
we're very passionate about doing the right thing and
Yes,
only working with fintechs like Advance who are committed to do the right thing as well.
Yes, and what we're trying to do is also help out, especially startups. A few of them are not really aware of how to do it on the regulatory part of it. So we do welcome companies like the Advance, who we feel have very strong potential. And they have made headways and already coordinating with several banks. With governance being put into fintech, we are also looking at like promoting women, the diversity. We're looking at promoting the youth, and at the same time putting trust in the financial technology. So
That's why after
basically
we
my part.
speak, I'm going to stand up and have Steph also sit here, right? So Steph is a member of the, speaking of diversity.
So having said that, we do welcome Advance. We'd like to say that in Fintech Ph Association, we really are fast growing. In a matter of few months, we're up to 100 plus. We have our Angkas, we have of course Union Bank, we have We have GCash, we have
Manulife.
Manulife.
The biggest players in the industry, not just for fintech, but across various verticals. And tonight, if you're not doing anything, please join us. Our July mixer is actually heralding taking up HR people and culture, and the top bill for that is actually advanced.
Yes, because we see one of the deficiencies we have in the country is actually having sufficient personnel who can actually do the blockchain, the digital technology, the fintech.
And
so
it
it's all
starts
hand
with
in hand.
people,
Yes.
right? Because you can't tech
Yes.
up an organization if you don't tech up the people.
Yes, and with a harmonious relationship with the funds together with the HR, we feel very strongly that we can find niche and collaboration with this exercise. So,
Absolutely.
thank you.
Bernie?
This is so exciting. Thank you, Amor. Thank you, Ida. So I'm sure everyone wants to hear about Advance, understand how it works, understand how maybe in your own businesses you can apply it there. So without further ado, let me introduce the CEO and co-founder of Advance, Mr. Jamie de Los Angeles. Jamie?
Hi guys, thank you very much for making it out to join us for lunch. I'd love to keep this very casual, so just feel free to ask us any questions in order to help us maybe clarify what we do and how we intend to really impact the fintech space. But I do want to also thank Fintech Philippines for inducting us today as one of their key members. Make you guys proud. So yeah, I don't know if you have all read our kind of press brief, but just to give you a quick summary, so we are a fintech company, and we are an online platform that allows employees to essentially access their salaries anytime. And the reason we came into this space was really because of the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle that many Filipinos live. In fact, over 80% of employees go through the situation on a month-to-month basis, and we really wanted to come up with a solution to address that. So we created Advance, which again allows employees to essentially access their salaries whenever they need it. It's a flexible credit line, so we cater really to the sachet mentality of many Filipinos who are used to maybe drawing or getting a little bit of what they need when they need it versus getting a bigger chunk. And that's something that no one in the market is doing today. So we're happy to go through our product in more detail and talk about maybe some of our partnerships and our plans. So yeah.
So why don't we dive a bit deeper into what Advance is, some of the partners as Jamie mentioned. Let's hear from Adi Guevara, the CFO and also co-founder.
Thanks everyone. So maybe we can talk a little bit more about Advance. Is that we just launched October of last year, of 2018. But even in that short span, we've already partnered with some of the bigger banks out there. Right now we have institutional funding or institutional lending capital funding coming from Philippine National Bank and Asia United Bank. So it just shows you that even for such a young company, for 10 months old, there are already big institutional banks that believe in this space and that believe in the company that we've built. Because it's really such an underserved space here in the Philippines. Jamie mentioned that 80% of Filipinos go through a paycheck to paycheck problem cycle, right? But so it's really such an underserved space, and we have partnered as well with some of the biggest payroll providers here in the Philippines. That gives us access to about anywhere between 300 to 500,000 employees here in the Philippines. So that's some of the partnerships that we have, and then I guess for you guys to understand what we do better is that maybe I'll show you a quick demo, even through my phone lang, para just show you the process of what our product goes through. Right? So right now, it's a web-based app, or it's a web-based, it's web-based for now, but we are launching our Android and our iOS app by Q4 of this year. So I know you won't be able to see everything through my phone, but I guess you'll see how it works, right? So how it works is we partner with companies, right? So when we partner with companies, once we sign a MOA with these companies, we provide their employees a flexible credit line of up to 50% of their monthly salary. So they can access that 50% of their monthly salary anytime, anywhere, through their phones, through their mobile phones. Effectively what our product is. So for this particular demo, this particular employee has a 36,000 peso credit line, but the flexibility allows him to advance as small as 1,000 pesos. So that amount alone, right? No bank or no other, traditional or online player will give you that amount. It's such a small amount, but with us, you can access either as small as 1,000 pesos or up to 50% of your monthly salary. So let's say, for example, and it's up to you. It's really up to you. Whatever you need. We built it in a way that you just have to advance whatever you need. It's aligned with the sachet mentality of Filipinos na kung ano lang yung kailangan, that's what they'll draw on as well. So for example, this one will get a 10,000 peso advance, and then you'll be asked to choose how many deductions do you want it paid. Either you wanted one deduction, one payday, 2 paydays, or 4 paydays. So that's our options right now. And then here with us also, the entire amount we remit directly to your payroll account. We don't deduct our processing fees upfront. So we just add it when we collect. And right now we're charged similar to credit cards, which is about 3.5%. We don't charge any interest. That's what's different from us. We don't charge any interest, given that we just charge a processing fee for every advance that you avail. 3.5%.
But it's freshly it's 2.5.
We're trying to lower that up to 2.5%. Right now, we start off at 3.5, but as you keep on using our product, it can go down. Parang rewards na, so everyone starts at a higher, and then it becomes lower as you keep on proving your credit to us. Right? So let's say for the 10,000, it was a medical emergency. I'll agree, and then I'll click advance. Everything's digital, so everything's online. All the loan documents, all the legal documents are already there. So you have the promissory note, the disclosure statement, the authorization for deduction, because we collect via salary deduction. So the companies require this particular document for them to deduct from their employees. And of course, we're DPA or data privacy compliant. So there's the data privacy disclosure statement and consent form as well there. And then it shows you a quick rundown of your schedule, and the fees. So here we're very transparent. You'll have to pay it when parang it's very clear what you have to pay and when you have to pay it. So there's nothing more, nothing less. So what you see there is what exactly will come out. No surprises. And then you just agree, and then you put in your initials, and then you click submit. So that's the second of the 2 steps. Right now it's generating the loan docs, but the 10,000 pesos that I demoed, bam, there. It goes directly into the payroll account already of the employee. That quick, that fast, real time. So we're linked to any banks, any of the major banks, so we can disburse to any major banks here in the Philippines. And then again, I keep on talking about the flexibility, right? So kanina it was a 36,000 credit line, right? That I demoed. I advanced already 10,000. And then for some reason I said I forgot. I have a 2,000 peso bill pala that I have to pay pa. So I can just do it again. I still have 26,000 left in my credit limit, and I'll just go through the process again. So it takes you anywhere between 5 to 10 seconds to access a portion of your salary real time. So that's what we've created. So that's the product. Anything you want to add?
So this was like the long cut, and
Yeah.
it already
It
already is a 2-step process. So to be perfectly honest, for employees who are already familiar with using our platform, it takes them like 15 seconds to essentially run through their account. Again, we designed this specifically for the convenience and ease of use. Actually, both Steph and Enzo have a lot to do with that. So Steph is our chief product officer, so she really looked at the different products out there and tried to create Advance so that it would be very, very simplistic for our end users. And again, we really want to stress the flexibility that we built Advance with, because it is something that when we partner with employers, we're also very conscious about extending a product that that will not over leverage our customers, right? A lot of different lenders really don't take that into account. They will, approve them for a certain amount, not really understanding what the actual need is for. So Adi kept using the example of a 2,000 peso bill. Typically, lenders will offer anywhere between 10 to 50,000. Someone who needs a couple thousand to pay off something will be forced to get a huge amount just because it's available. In our case, you have a free facility that you can use anytime, and because of that, and because of the flexibility, it really does kind of incentivize them to draw only what they need. And this has actually reduced pressure on the borrower side, because they see that, okay, as long as I still have some credit available, there is that safeguard for me down the line and when I need it. And what Adi maybe failed to mention was, upon every repayment, the credit line gets replenished. So they visually see that their money, which they have already earned, and that they advance today, will actually go back into their line, essentially giving them a revolving line of credit. So they don't have to reapply, they don't have to wait for approvals. It's a very convenient product that once it's rolled out and your company is onboarded, you have access to it immediately.
So there's no need for co-makers or...
No need for co-makers.
As long as the company agreed with
Right,
it.
yes.
In the
It
case...
goes directly to the payroll, sir.
Yes, it goes directly to their payroll account in real time. So 24/7, Sunday, 3 a.m. We've gotten advance requests at that time, and we're able to fulfill that request.
So how's the shake hand between the company and the advance? And is the company also getting portion of the processing fee?
As of the moment, no. In fact, a lot of the companies are actually very supportive of products like this, because many who inherently have the best interests of their employees at heart are obliged to lend to them using their own funds. And with a product like Advance, they're able to kind of offload that service, right? And I guess in a way it really helps the company refocus on their core competency rather than using a part of their budget to support the employees, which really shouldn't be their objective, and it tends to be a very cumbersome process also.
That said, just for example, the employee who borrowed money from Advance, so that's the only time you send money to the company.
Correct. No, not to the company.
It goes straight to the
borrower.
employees back.
It goes straight to the payroll account of the employee. It doesn't go through the company anymore.
It's the employer who helps with the repayment. So yes.
Since you're directly partnering with the employers, how does a company qualify to be a partner of Advance?
So we work with all companies of all sizes, and we have SMEs and all the way through enterprise. We do some credit checking on our side as well. I guess as a startup, we are aligning ourselves with some of the bigger names, just because they are more secure. But we have our own internal process on the back end to just review a company's creditworthiness as well.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you are tied up with the companies for the salary, for the deduction.
Correct.
So the payments are deducted by the HR and paid to you.
Yeah, by accounting typically.
And for example, the employee has a 2-month contract with you, and something happens, they get sick or didn't go to work, so there's no salary for them to deduct.
Right.
Is there a penalty or a charge to the employee because they weren't able to meet the 2-month period?
So as of the moment, we only lend to regularized employees to ensure that there is enough security on the either by a final pay or 15th month. But in instances where that could happen, that's really kind of where the transparency and flexibility comes in. We do give them the option to borrow for as short as 15 days up to a maximum of 2 months.
For example, they get sick for 2 weeks, so there's no payroll for a certain period.
So we defer the collection amount, and there is a small penalty that is assessed to that. I guess we're young enough still where it is a case-to-case basis depending again on the issue, right? But for the most part, it's a system implementation where if there's a missed payment, there is going to be
like building from what Jamie mentioned, we actually had an incident like that. So there was a woman who went through maternity. So she just told us na parang it was up front that she's going on a maternity leave for I think 60 days. She was just different.
We give them the option actually to pay like on their own, So we don't have to rely on the company and wait those 60 days, and that they can do that. Or yeah, we'll defer.
If they pay by their own, on their own, what's the payment channel? Gcash, PayMaya, bank,
All of the above.
Everything.
so you can pay anywhere. If you, kasi they mentioned you can pay on your own, not the salary reduction.
That option is only available for mga, if it's a case-to-case basis. It's yung mga like what I mentioned earlier, na maternity leave, opted to pay directly, but our standard is really salary reduction. That's more of an accommodation.
Okay.
Standard.
So, are the accounting departments complaining because this is actually additional work for them?
You know, you'll be surprised. That's always the initial reaction of finance or HR department. What's going to happen to our accounting? But once you see our process, given that we've automated everything already, and we do everything. We do all the reports. We do the accounting department doesn't have to keep track of all the advances themselves. So everything is done through us. So we submit them a bi-monthly report every 15-30 that they just copy and paste.